to the Monday call at Expert Dojo. As always, every week we come up with a new topic, new insights, and new like information for the people in the venture ecosystem and all. Today, again, Brian couldn't join. The reason being he's in Cannes, in France, attending bunch of like family of his. Like right now he's going for the gala dinner, so he's enjoying his time. But then I thought, okay, we cannot cancel it. Because we have an amazing speaker lineup for today, Anthony. So we're gonna bring him in a second time. I mean, in a minute time from now. And I'm in Kolkata, so I'm also going from places to places, as you must have heard in the newsletter, like when we announced last week, because like we are literally on the go, in there on the fly on the fire. The reason being, there's a lot happening from both sides of the world. Brian is doing the same thing in the US. I'm doing here in India right now. But then, without further ado, I'm gonna bring a amazing guest of the day today, Anthony, and he's having all the expertise that you guys might have in your back of your head when it comes to legal and compliance. Because the good thing and the bad thing is like from day one, as a founder, as a person in the venture, you need to comply with all the law and all. And that's where the early stage startup goes wrong, because you're not probably aware of what kind of things that you should do, you should not do, and stuff like that. We'll chat more about all these things. So be prepared of the questions that you might have to ask Anthony, and we'll bring him in and he can talk and he share his perspective as well. So Kislik, why don't we just bring Anthony in? Hey Anthony.
Hello, how are you doing?
Doing well, sir. How are you doing?
I am very well and here in New York today. So everyone travels these days. I spend part of my time in New York, part of my time in London, launching SeedLegals in the US. So
To know that. Actually, Brian was there in New York, like literally 2 days back. I don't know, like we didn't know that you were there in New York. Otherwise, you should have like catch up with him. And then he couldn't join, as I might have explained earlier, if you ever heard, because he's in
yep,
Cannes
yep.
right now. He's in France, and he's coming back to New York. I think in 2 days
He,
from now.
he's slumming it in Cannes. So back in my BBC days, I went to some content licensing events in Cannes. There are yachts, there's beaches, there are parties. It's a really tough life he's living. So yeah,
Yeah, it's like Monaco, right?
exactly. Yeah.
No, good to meet you. Let me quickly introduce myself. I run everything at the dojo as well as CEO and also the general partner of the India dedicated fund, because we have launched two different funds. One is Miami, which is a celebrity led fund, and one here in India, which is India dedicated fund. So we are just on the road, like raising funds, deploying capital on the other side and all. So we're like super busiest person on the planet right now, traveling all around. But that's how life is. But good to meet you finally. I know you were expecting Brian, but then you got a replacement. We're gonna have an amazing chat about. So the purpose of this Monday call, let me explain you very quickly, is like we have audience coming from venture world in general, entrepreneurs, ecosystem provider, other investors, early stage, growth stage, private equity, broader audience, right? And this shows usually get recorded as well. We push it on our learning platform later on, but then you don't know who is watching, so we can keep it very general in general about like how exactly venture law works and stuff like that, based on your experience and background. So why don't you just quickly introduce yourself, where you come from, your background a little bit, and also what seed legal, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah.
Sea Legals.
What you guys do at
So,
seed legal? Yeah.
all right. So, hello everyone. I'm Anthony Rose, the founder and CEO at Seed Legals. Seed Legals is about 160-person company based largely in the UK, now also in the US, France, and Ireland. And so, as a platform, if you're a startup founder and you're fundraising, don't spend huge amounts with law firms. Get on Seed Legals. We help you get investment ready, do everything to raise investment. We don't connect you with investors, but we do all the legal documents and all the other things to grow your company as well. Stock option plans, R&D tax credits, cap table, and all the contracts you need for your company. So we've been very successful. More than 50,000 startups are on Seed Legals. In the UK, something like a third of all early stage investment is done through Seed Legals, and we're now growing internationally. So I talk to literally thousands of founders each year. Majority of all UK startups, I think, are on Seed Legal. So we've seen everything. And today I'm here to share tips and advice for you, particularly if you're an early stage founder, how you find investors, the main mistakes people make on their websites, and also expanding now to the US as well. So one of the things that I've seen increasing in popularity is UK companies and others looking to incorporate in Delaware. And that used to be unbelievably complicated. And we are now productizing that and make it super simple. So any questions, I'm here to cover all of that. And by the way, again, if you are fundraising, get on SeedLegals, particularly for your companies in the UK or the US.
And tell me a little bit about you, Anthony, as well. Like why you started Seed Legal and where you come from. What's your
Great.
background? Yeah.
Great point. So actually, many people ask, you do legal stuff. Are you a lawyer? And actually, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a product guy. And I
Wow.
used to be embarrassed to say I'm not a lawyer. But then I realized, in the same way Elon Musk would never have created Tesla if he'd come from General Motors, you need to be an outsider if you want to change the industry. So years ago, I used to be with Kazaa, the music file sharing company. Before that, I was in real-time 3D graphics. Then the BBC hired me to head up BBC iPlayer, the UK version of Netflix and Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
After I left the BBC, I built a startup, sold it. Built another startup, sold it. Invested in a few startups, got tired of paying lawyers, met my co-founder, Laurent, a genius, ex-VC and serial investor. And he said, lawyers make mistakes, they take forever, they charge a fortune. We should change that. So we got together like 8 years ago now and built SeedLegals, and it's gone from strength to strength over that period. We've clearly tapped into a problem that founders have. And one of the things I realized, by the way, and I should add, the reason I'm mentioning this is in common with the vast majority of startups that I see. The biggest mistake they make on their websites, in their pitch deck, is they explain what they do rather than why anyone wants it. And I'm sure we'll get back to this topic a few times.
100%.
So I realized pretty quickly, my first version of my website says, we do document generation and contract automation. And I realized 0 people in the world wake up in the morning going, what I need in my life is document automation. They don't. They go, I need funding, I need investment, I need money. So we changed it, the fastest way to close your next funding round. And whenever I see somebody's website that says, we use blockchain and AI to revolutionize insurance.
That's the first thing that you ask the founder to change. I totally resonate with you. The reason being, whenever we speak, I speak, Brian speaks on the panels and any other speaking engagement, the most generic question is like people saying, hey, what the thing that you look for in the founder when they talk to you, the first thing they say, like, don't come up with the solution. We are building AI automation to make this world a better place to live. I mean, seriously? That's not what is going to say aloud. Like the founder needs narrative, the storytelling. Rather than just addressing the problem, they always come up with a solution. Preconceived notion that this is something that I'm build and I'm going to build and the world will buy. That's not how it's done. You need to engage from the customer point of view, right? And that's what
exactly.
we do something very differently at Expert Dojo. Like literally, we try to focus the entire focus on the customer love and the problem that you want to solve. And if you have
delighted.
Exactly.
I'm delighted to hear that. And the irony is when you talk to a founder personally, they probably tell you passionately, it's crazy. People pay far too much for their home insurance. I paid $200 a month for my insurance and I only need to pay $100 and nobody bothers switching because it's too hard. And you've explained a real pain point. And then you go to the website and it says, we use AI and blockchain to improve insurance. And you go, dude, you've lost me. So what you really want to do is the same way you would explain to somebody you were talking to what problem you're solving for them, that's what your website should do. So I do a lot of pitch events and pitch competitions. In fact, this week in New York, we're doing Seed Week, where there's an in-person event every day on something for founders. And actually, I think tomorrow, Wednesday, is Founder Idol, where I channel Simon Cowell, and we do a pitch event. And I know the thing I'm going to be telling everybody is, a pitch is of the form, something is broken. It's insane. We're changing that. Here's how we're changing it. It's a huge market. Here's some competitors. This is how much we're raising. This is the traction we've got. Call me. And so, every time somebody goes, well, AI insurance, something, I go, change that to, did you know you're paying 30% too much on your insurance every month? Welcome to company name. we'll help you change that. So I think we're on one
No,
mind on that.
and this is strangely and coincidentally, we are thinking the same and saying the same thing. The reason being,
Exactly.
we tell the founder don't follow the traditional pitch deck design. The problem is every single time when you see they follow the 10 slides, okay, good to have 10 slides. Then problem, solution, same pattern, the thing that people have taught in the West 20 years back. This is the top because right now I believe our attention span is so low that we don't have time is our biggest enemy right now, right? So whatever you have tracks in the metrics, put it in the first slide, because in 30 seconds if you caught my reason, cool, you can have a conversation, otherwise you lost me, right? So no
So
fancy
yeah,
design, blah blah. That's what I believe, like we believe at Expodozer. Please, you have a thought?
So I'm always amused when I see those Twitter posts about this is the slide deck that Uber used or Airbnb used and so on. It's complete bollocks. It's no relevance at all. Those slides, those pitch decks have got only one relevant slide, which is exactly what you mentioned, which is a graph that goes up like this. If you've got a graph that goes up like this, you can just send one page with a thing saying raising 10 million, send money. And but of course, most founders don't. So you then have to go through the rest of the motion. But it's all about storytelling. It's the art of the pitch. And I've done a webinar with somebody called Claire McMillan, who's a barrister, a criminal lawyer in the UK, now a pitch deck coach. So how come from criminal lawyer to pitch deck coach? Well, she said that in criminal cases, the vast majority of the time, it's not the facts that determine whether you are, prosecuted or not. It's the fact, it's the story. So she's learned it's about storytelling, and she transforms every pitch deck from, problem, solution, something. The easiest thing you can do in your pitch deck is, instead of having slide titles that go problem, solution, you can say such and such is broken. Here's how we're fixing it. Here's how we're going to make money. And so people going through it should see like each slide is an extra, episode in a Netflix series. The goal of each slide or each step in your investor outreach is to get you to watch the next episode. You want the person to be hooked. So it's like ending on a cliffhanger, right? So such and such is broken. Like, oh my God, you're about to tell me how you're fixing it. Great, here's how we fix it. Exactly. Sounds amazing. I need to know more. What are the details? So,
every sentence which should include the entire pitch deck that you have, right? Like you
just
hooking up one at a time, right? Problem, solution, this is how you're going to make money. This is how you're going to multiply money. It's like a different world altogether. Like in 3 sentences, share your narrative, right? That's what matters. But that brings me a really curious question. Let me ask you, since you mentioned about that person who was a criminal lawyer end up becoming a pitch deck coach. You being non-lawyer, having a background, what do you think? Like, because the trust is something that really sell hard in the market, right? We keep talking about, hey, build something with trust, build something with love, right? So from your story, because you got like 0 to 50,000 startup on your platform and stuff like that, right? That's huge. So congratulations on that line. But if I have to ask you, how and why someone should trust you being non-liar, fixing all the legalities, compliance things, how did you bridge that gap? What's your experience? And answer this based on how a founder can build something very trustworthy without, because these days we are living in a different world. You don't need to be a lawyer to build a law firm technically using in the world of AI. So tell me your story. What was your transition and why people should trust you as a non-lawyer for the legalities related work?
So you've raised a really good point. And of course, now life is easy for me, right? Most UK's founders know about SeedLegals. 3 friends have told them, the investor told them they need to use SeedLegals. So the trust problem for me is largely solved. It's hardly ever the case in the UK that somebody says, why should I trust you against a lawyer? Because my documents are market standard. More companies use us than any law firm. But it was hard to get there. And on day one, when I was, as the founder, personally sitting on a beanbag, doing Zoom, or then it was Skype calls with customers, and they'd go, how many people have used your platform? Why should I trust you? How many? And I go, like, 3. So that's not a good answer. And so how do you earn trust? So firstly, I should add, by the way, we employ lawyers. We've got like 20 lawyers. So the fact I'm not a lawyer doesn't mean anything because the documents are well done. But I think trust in the early days comes a lot from your personal brand. And this is something that every founder should start doing, because It costs you nothing other than time. So often I see a company with a website, but they've got no thought leadership pieces, no articles on that show them as domain experts. So thing one you should do as a founder is content marketing. What's content marketing? Write articles about what you do. And a great example is one of my customers sells green tea. I love green tea. Green tea comes in a whole variety. Some of them is crazy expensive, picked by virgins in Japan on Mount Fuji at midnight, whatever it is. So I went to their site and they've got lots of pictures of green tea, but there's no content. What I'm looking for is articles on the perfect water temperature. Should I add cold water or hot water first? They could have been thought leaders. And as they write these articles, Google does a great job on indexing things on LinkedIn posts. You can get in magazines. So when investors start Googling you, instead of seeing nothing, they start seeing you popping up everywhere. You're going to start popping up in their feed. And now they start trusting you. And they believe that you're bigger than you really are because you're everywhere. So and then you start building your brand, start posting on LinkedIn. Don't post spammy things, post things that are helpful for people in your community. Initially, maybe you get 100 views, then it gets to 1,000. Then if you're lucky, it gets 5 or 10,000. But it's hard work, and over many years, some of it are slow burns, some faster. But as soon as you start building that personal brand and your company brand through thoughtful articles, that is a key thing for building trust. And so now, for example, with SEO, when people Google a whole range of startup things, my articles rank higher than the UK government's articles. So it's like, yes, like a high five. We did well on that one. And
but it's a great point, because being a thought leader, that's what we teach our founders all the time. We call it in our lingo domain dominance. And
right.
how you can build your domain dominance is by letting your competitor talk about you. If someone is searching about legalities, if you're having a legal tech firm, you should pop up rather than what you just said, rather than the government documents and all. And that showcase you are a thought leader, because someone is talking about you without your presence in the back end, right? And that's called domain dominance, and that's every founder needs to build it all the time, right? In fact, I'm running 21 days growth hacking challenge on my LinkedIn right now. My post of yesterday's was literally about this. You don't need to hire a PR agency
Right.
in the beginning days because it's expensive. It costs money.
Exactly.
Be your own PR. Make sure your people are your PR sort of a person in a way. Because if you want to build a domain dominance, it's not that the company needs to post all the time. It's the people who are building the company needs to post, and they're all thought leader, right? And everything drive back forward. I mean, it's like you're building your brand and company brand that goes hand to hand in parallel, right? And
that's right.
as a thought leader, if someone is talking, but again, don't spam people. Like these days, the problem is a lot of content is being generated by AI. If you're just copying, pasting,
don't do that. I've got there was a no filters once upon a time. I like the no. I love AI, but I don't use it for my posts because there needs to be my genuine tone of voice.
Of course.
So just one thing on trust for everyone to know is that some people will trust you sooner and faster than others. And if you're, for example, selling to early stage startups, founders will trust you very quickly because they are themselves disrupting industries. They don't have much money. They're looking for a low-cost solution. They're looking for an always-on solution. It's not like, something is going to cause a data breach and kill their business because they don't have a business yet. So Founders will make decisions, early-stage founders, in like 10 minutes or 30 seconds. If you're selling to enterprise, they're going to want you to have ISO 27001 and SOC 2 compliance, and they're going to waste 6 months of your life on contracts. So search for the customers who are the fastest decision makers and focus on those. And then for trust, it will turn out that people value trust or do trust decisions in a different way than they used to in the past. So once upon a time, banks, if you go around New York or your city, some of the banks look like Greek temples with those big buildings. It was like, trust us because we've got this giant building made of stone. These days, it's like, dude, that's completely irrelevant. And then law firms trust us because we've got a big building in the city with marble foyers. That's now, to me, a negative. It means I'm spending all my money on your marble foyers and your partners playing golf. What I want is to spend less money on a platform that's on 24/7. So one of the things I love is being an outsider in a sense in my industry is I like to think, what would my competitors do? And then I'm going to do exactly the opposite. So if a law firm charges by the hour, I'm not charging by the hour. Unlimited help and support for a SaaS fee. 24/7 online, always on platform, of course, embracing AI.
Yeah.
Um, the ability to do things, on demand yourself. If it's a rainy Sunday evening and you find an investor, you can just do that. Web chat rather than having to get on a phone call. So think about all the things you can do differently that align with what your customer is looking for. And if your competitors, if you're competing against old style big businesses, if you can kind of intentionally do the opposite and play on that a bit, that might be a win for your, next gen, early stage, new kind of businesses that may well be your first customers.
Very fascinating. You brought a point about, like, in the old days, the bank used to have a nice temple, like, like a structure where you can just, because they wanted to build the trust, right?
Exactly.
Remind me of one thing about, like, if you remember in the old days as well, like the health insurance, like, sorry, the life insurance that is being sold to the market, it used to be called death insurance basically in the beginning days, and nobody been buying it because nobody wanna, like, I mean, like, you are selling what, death insurance? I mean, actually, it's a death insurance, right? But then they just rename it to life insurance, and then the whole trust got immediately built. Oh, this is a life
Right.
insurance, but it's actually a death insurance if you see it, right? So the naming, the like numerology, oh, sorry, not numerology, like nomenclature, is that the right word? The name
Yeah.
really matters, right? How you do it. It doesn't matter if you're building a tech solution or like something like bank. Like, you need to make sure that people trust you. But that leads to the different second question. Me, like, since you build a product, basically, right, which is very intimidating, right? How did you make it very founder friendly, and what was the vision about if I talk about the product philosophy, what was going on when you were building it, like, and
I,
since
I, I love your
yeah.
thoughts. So this actually goes back to an anecdote when I was at the BBC. So I was living in Australia at the time, and I got a call from the BBC saying we need someone to head up BBC iPlayer. And I thought, the BBC, where are the stock options? Because it's government funded, or public funded. I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. I'll move over to the UK. And when I got there, it wasn't in a very good state. And lots of things didn't work. And I kept trying to tell the dev team, hey, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. And they kept telling me, Anthony, it's just you. You're the only guy using this thing, this configuration, this browser, whatever. And I thought I need to demonstrate to them something they'll buy into. So I went to see, okay, I need to do some user testing. So I went to find the people at the BBC who do user testing. I found them, and they said, oh, it'll cost £20,000 and take 6 weeks for user testing. I went, there's no way I'm paying £20,000, and I don't have 6 weeks. I launched my product in 3 months. So I developed what I call the Anthony chocolate box test. So I went to the local supermarket. I bought a big box of Lindt chocolates, 5 of them.
By
And
the
then
way,
I went
I just love Lynn.
so then I went to find non-technical people in the company, like the legal team. And I said, if I give you this big box of Lindt chocolates, will you come down and test my product? And so a person came down. I got all the developers in the room, big TV. And I said to the person, what program do you want to watch? They told me, okay, go find it. And it was an absolute disaster. And the developers, like, jaw dropped. And then at the end of the session, we're, okay, team, don't panic. We're going to pick the top 3 things to fix, and we're going to fix it in 48 hours. Took us a bit longer, and then we repeated it. And by about the 4th time, the person said, this is a program I want. Oh, there it is. Let me click the button, and it plays. So to me, it's all about customer-driven development.
Mhm.
You want your team to be as close to the customer as possible. And this is a huge problem in many companies where the dev team sit in their office or at home, working remotely, never talk to customers. The founders are often not talking to customers. You want everybody to be as close to customers as possible. So, for example, at SeedLegals, our customer support team will post on Slack in an ideas channel, hey, I've got a customer looking for this. Or the 3rd time somebody says, I can't find this on the platform, we posted. So everyone sees the customer feedback, and then everyone is motivated to go and enhance the platform. I personally, at midnight, may make wording changes or hint tech changes or other changes based on the feedback posted. So everyone in the company feels like a kind of a mini product manager. So you want to embrace customer driven development and listen to all the things your customers are asking. And some of it might fall outside the scope of what you do. Some of it is exactly what you do. And then you want to minimize the number of hours, in a sense, to do the simple things. And that the whole company focused around listening to the customer and iterating, I think gives you a big competitive edge compared to other companies where developers are busy typing and customers are busy whinging. And then as the CEO or the founders, you need to be going out and talking to customers every day and listening to them. And based on that, then you iterate your product.
Absolutely, you hit the nail. The reason being, and that's what we've been again teaching the founder all the time, like build it with from the customer centric mindset from day one or day zero, you call it, right? And have the feedback mechanism loop in so that you can get as many feedback as possible from different channel, different sources sooner than later. So that you can
Yeah.
build a lovable product. Like the customer should love it, not just the viable product, right? And
Exactly.
yeah,
And the other top tip is to put a web chat bubble on your website. You can use Intercom, you can use HubSpot, there are other lower cost ones as well. And the purpose of this is it converts a drive-by into an interaction. So have the chat bubble pop up with, don't say, can we help you with anything? Because the person's going, dude, that's not helpful. You know, in my case, like, are you fundraising or do you want to give options to your team? And then the person will interact. And now you turn each visit into an engagement. And this is really critical, particularly at the early stage of your company, because many people come into your website, have a completely different idea of what you're doing than you think, or they don't understand your messaging. And so if people go to your website and like don't get it and disappear, you'll never learn. But if you've got a web chat bubble and people go, can you tell me how you connect me with investors? And we go, oh, we don't connect with investors. Then after the third time somebody says that, hey team, can we change our website wording so that people stop asking us something we don't do? Or
yeah.
hey guys, we've learned we need to offer this because everyone keeps wanting this. Let's just offer this.
And fascinating enough, nowadays the old school web chat can be replaced by AI. Like literally, you can ask, and the web chat is basically AI prompt driven, answerable, whatever the way you wanna frame
Well,
it. Right?
here's a fun anecdote. So I agree. Of course, people like to speak to a human, but you know that's expensive. So can you use AI? And so here's a fun thing. You know, since a good fraction of all UK companies are on SeedLegals, I see everything. And one day, one of my customers wrote to me saying, Anthony, I've made a virtual you. I've taken one of your videos. I do many videos, and I've taken 9 minutes of video to clone your voice. And then I've taken your articles, I've ingested them all into our system. I've written like 300 articles on, you know, raising investment and the legals and so on. And so now I've created a voice, Anthony. You can ask it anything and it will tell you. And I have to say, it was unbelievable. The browser pops up, you can just speak to it, no typing. And then I answer, and my voice is uncannily good. It's just one problem. The AI Anthony isn't quite as good as the real Anthony. And then I found this really weird behavior where a few people started writing to me going, Anthony, I asked the AI Anthony, but I wasn't really happy with the answer. So can I ask you? And it was a bit like I just had a taste of the future where I began to feel guilty that my AI clone wasn't as good as me.
Exactly.
But I didn't need to feel guilty because I never made it and it's not me, but
Of
people
course.
perceive it's me. So welcome to the future.
I mean, I have an amazing question on that line, but before I was the point that I was making, rather than having the cloned AI of imitating your voice or video, what I was referring to, if you have a chat bot, let's say on your website, right? Earlier it used to be like a prompt based. This
Sure.
question, this answer. This question, this answer. This question, this answer. This question, no answer. Okay, let me connect with the customer support. Now, a lot of that can be very conversational AI on prompt based engineering, right? And then what this AI should do based on that chat, they should trigger automatically a feedback loop to the dev team that, hey, these were the questions they're asking. These are the feedback I gathered. And I think you guys should change this stuff on your website. So rather than someone else doing it in the back end, I mean, just like a random out of blue, I'm saying like it's going to be really an amazing chatbot based style, which is like basically your analytics crawler, right? We're bringing the feedback without you asking the customers. It's the user behavior that they can analyze, and based on that, they can just give the feedback to the dev team, right? So that's going to be
I,
like,
I think it's a great point. I would suggest that that's something maybe for later stage companies, because if it's a customer chatbot in the early days, you're doing a lot of product discovery,
right,
and the chatbot doesn't have any of your original content to base itself on. So it's just paraphrasing everything else on the internet, and maybe not being that helpful. And now you're beginning to put work into content just for the chatbot. And so I would think, you can put a chatbot on your website in like 30 minutes and then start working on those content things. So our chatbot with the virtual me is
hmm,
actually quite good, because we've written hundreds of articles, and so we can tell it, use these articles, and then it's got unique content. And now, of course, with a customer support team of 30 or 40 people in the business, I can start going, what can I try to offload to AI? But of course, the jury's out as to whether your customers want that. I mean, I see frequent customer feedback, because people leave us lots of feedback. Very good.
hmm,
Saying, totally delighted to talk to a real human. Now, of course, it costs money to have real humans. So there's always, can I use AI? I'm undecided how fast I'm going to go down that route. I think it'll be interesting to watch the space. But there are many, many ways you can use AI. You can
of
use
course.
AI to review things, but often keeping the human touch, I think, is interesting. But there will be whole new ones which do the opposite.
The world is
And
changing faster than we ever expected, right? And
and
that's
what
happening.
I'm really excited about is agentic AI. So, AI chatbots, they can only answer with text based on the input, but
Right.
agentic can connect with Stripe, they can connect with other things. So you can say, can I get a refund? And then the agentic AI can go, yes, and then actually talk to Stripe to issue the refund, as opposed to, thanks for your refund request, let me connect you with an agent. So that when
I mean, that's
agentic
the future.
gets
It's
on,
already happening. Like
that's, yeah,
GPT 5.0 is like they have the thinking cap. They're all
exactly.
doing
Yeah.
crawling website and stuff like that, right? So the future is definitely vertical AI and also the horizontal at the same time, because it's going to be end to end. But then let me ask you one thing. Since you're coming from, I mean, like, of course, you build a lawyer tech platform, even though not having like a non-law background, but you must have been going through a lot of law complexities in general. And you're coming from Europe, you're right now in the US, and of course, you must have a fair understanding of Asian law and all. What's your thought on what's going to happen with the AI when it comes to AI and the law together? Do you think the it's going to be a decentralized world, or there should be a regulatory thing that will come and regulate the whole AI industry? And how exactly is going to impact from the law point of view, if I have to ask you, the whole AI revolution, what's happening in the market right now?
Fascinating question, and there are many parts to it. So the first one is, let's start with hey, how AI is affecting lawyers and the legal industry. So you can now get on ChatGPT and say, build me a contract. If I've got a consultant, create a contract for the consultant, and it'll probably get it sort of like 90% right. The problem is the 10% that's not right, and so I would not rely on an AI generated contract, because you don't know what things should be in a contract, and you don't know what the terms are. So we've got these contracts on SeedLegals, and I always benchmark us against using AI and so on. And the AI one comes with some things often that are impressively good, but actually anyone who's trained just knows that things are wrong. The law jurisdiction will be wrong. It won't include what happens if the person leaves. They're endless. So I'm not a big fan of using AI to create contracts, but what I do think will change is, if you go to a lawyer to, let's say, make a commercial contract, they're going to take 10 hours and they're going to charge you $500 an hour. What you're now going to do is you're going to use ChatGPT to make the first version of the contract, and
Hmm.
then tell the lawyer, spend 1 hour reviewing this,
Reviewing,
please.
and you can just get the
And
same thing done in $500, right? That's really smart.
exactly.
Hmm.
The other thing is, will there be, AI reviewed contracts? I mean, yes, it'll eat into it, but fundamentally, the legal system is ultimately arbitrated by a judge sitting on a bench, and lawyers go and stand in front of them. And until that changes, ultimately, it's all about people. So contracts are all about creating things that lawyers and judges will ultimately arbitrate.
Mm.
And so, we had that discussion in a sense with smart contracts. And people went, yeah, my computer's going to talk to your computer and agree. I mean, for some things, for rapid fire selling of things, smart contracts are great, but you're not going to create a smart contract for an employment agreement and then leave it to some like DeFi system to tell you whether you could be fired or not. That's what humans are for.
Right.
So I think AI will have many efficiency things in the legal space, but ultimately, since the top of the pecking order is a judge, that won't change. Separately, there's governance around AI. I have to say, I'm not a fan of governance. And every time I see somebody like doing AI governance, it's like it's a negative.
Right.
As a founder, you want to build cool shit that people are going to use. You don't wake up in the morning going, every time I do this, what are the governance? You go, no, you're fighting to get customers. And so this AI stuff is unique in that people think you're going to wake up in the morning and thinking how I'm not going to get customers and all the guardrails. Nobody thinks that. I mean, maybe if you work at ChatGPT, OpenAI or something, but for an actual founder, you're going to spend zero time on that. And I think your customers don't care about it at all. Every time you go to a website, like everything's using AI now. When you go on the OpenAI site or ChatGPT or Gemini, for every question you ask, make me an image of two cats playing a piano. Are you thinking, I wonder what their AI safety policies are? No, you're just going, are those good cats? And did I get a good image or was it rubbish? And so I think people are overrating this. I mean, if you want a job in the EU government, great, get an AI governance thing. But for everyone else, I don't think your customers care. And to prove it, every time you go to a website, like 90% of websites have got AI, and you just don't care. If you go to United Airlines and you hit the chatbot to change your ticket, you don't care if it's a human, you don't care if it's AI. You just want
The work
somebody.
to be done. That's it.
I just
Right.
want my ticket changed. And AI is probably going to do better than the agent,
And faster than
except
the agent. Yeah.
except it will probably get me 90% there and then tell me I need to find an agent. You go, that was stupid, just give me the agent. But
Right.
I'm not cared about what their AI governance is because it's not relevant. I just want them to change my ticket. I'm not telling them my life story.
And I love that you mentioned like are not big fan of like centralized system in general, and that's why the growth rate in Europe is comparatively way slower as compared to what's happening in the other side of the world, right? You need to be friendly when it comes to adopting the new technology and stuff like that, right? What's your thought on
Yeah.
Harvey AI? Do you think that's something that people can trust more when it comes to?
Well, yeah, so Harvey's principally used by law firms. It's got a huge valuation. I haven't played around with it myself.
Mhm.
I think law firms are interesting because they've got these innovation people in law firms whose goal is to come up with new technology and new ways of doing things. On the other hand, the fundamental business model of a law firm is charging by the hour. So if somebody goes, I mean, if I go to a law firm with SeedLegals and say, I've got a great product you can use that helps you do funding rounds in half the number of hours, they're going to go, dude, are you mental? I'm going to make half the amount of money. Why are you trying to sell me this? So law firms have got this problem as technology and AI can do things in less time. They either have to reinvent their billing model or reinvent their business model, or they're going to be out of business. So, I was talking to one US law firm. They say, we charge $100,000 for high-end biotech patents. In 5 years' time, it's going to be $5,000 because it's all going to be AI
Yeah,
generated.
of
And
course.
so either they're out of business or they're going to be embracing AI. So they said, we've got the biggest database of biotech patents. We can have the best AI system for coming up with those patents. And, over my career, and this I think might be interesting for anyone listening, which is this is my third foray in disruption. So once upon a time with Kazaa, the music file sharing,
Mhm.
people were buying CDs. And then we did live streaming and P2P distribution. So that was, music companies were saying, we're losing $1 billion a year in sales because of streaming. And we were saying, license us the content and we will create a streaming
Anthony, I think I lost you.
new era for your business. And it took 10. I think I'm back again, right?
You're back. You're back.
Yeah.
You're back.
Okay. Okay, great. So I was saying, so with the Kazaa and music file sharing, music sales of CDs were going down $1 billion a year. And instead of the music companies embracing the internet, they tried to sue everyone to make it go away. And then with the BBC, it was taking television that was on your TV and now making it available anytime you want on any device. But the broadcasters never reinvented themselves to make new types of content. It's still the same David Attenborough program on the Antarctic. You can now watch it on your phone. And they just didn't realize that the growth of, TikTok, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, they rejected it all as like rubbish, low quality content, but didn't realize the world was changing. And
Yeah.
likewise, in the legal space, nobody wakes up in the morning wants a legal document. They want investment, but to get investment, they need to find investors. They need to have data to
Mm.
show them what the market terms are. They need a way of reaching out to investors. They want, when they get an investment interest, to take 5 minutes and get back to them with an agreement. So you always look at the underlying things that your customers really
Yes.
want,
True.
which is probably different to the existing solution provider, and then provide that complete end-to-end piece
And
around
being
that.
a founder, you also don't want to spend the time like doing all this, like legality thing. Like the life is becoming easier with this whole new revolution that is coming in. I totally agree with you. I got like we can go hours and hours talking about, because you are such an insightful person, honestly, from product to customer love to like legal compliance and stuff like that. I do have a bunch of questions, but because of the time crunch, probably we cannot get into those. And there are a bunch of people from watching us live from Santa Monica to India. They're saying good morning, good evening, good afternoon from different parts of the world. So we will.
Let me jump in quickly with the one question that I see on screen, which is saying you've scaled two very different companies or
Yes,
products. I play on media and SeedLegals. Legals, what's the most valuable or transferable lesson between consumer and B2B?
that's a
Let me
very good
turn it
thing.
let me turn it around differently, which is music file sharing, broadcast TV, legal, completely different. What's in common? And I think you should look within yourself as a founder or developer. What do you love doing? And for me, what I love doing is taking an idea, you have no idea how to build it, and then go and building it. It's coming up with a new idea and the execution. Sometimes you have the idea, sometimes your co-founder has the idea. But I love the art of doing that. And actually, it doesn't really matter what it is. You're always looking to see how people were doing things in the past. Think about, is there a completely different, better way of doing it? And then rather than going, nobody wants this other solution, going, yes, I'm going to make the solution. Then we go back to the trust question before. How are you going to get people to trust you? So what's in common with all things, that I've done is realizing there's a problem to be solved, talking to customers to figure out a solution, figuring out a technical solution. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's difficult, persuading people that they want this new solution, and then working out how to reach lots of people and telling them about it. And then, of course, building the team. So I think the transferable lessons, in my case, it's about the way of going from idea to product. But in your case, you may have different skills. Some people love building a team. Some people are the financial experts. Some people love coding. So in many cases, it doesn't matter what it is you do. Lastly, from me, you sometimes see tips saying, pick something you love and then go build it. I think this is nonsense, because you never love something at the beginning. Like never woke up and go, you know what? I love legal contract automation. What you do is you find an interesting problem to solve that you think you can do a great job solving, and then you begin to fall in love with it. And in my case, at SeedLegals, with thousands of founders building their businesses and their goals and hopes and dreams, leveraging my platform, I love talking to founders and helping them, as you can hear from the passion on the call here. So that's the thing that you fall in love with. If you make green tea, you now fall in love with people asking you about your amazing green tea and then going and sourcing the best green tea and so on.
Of course, no, very interesting. I got like four rapid questions for you, and then we can probably address one more question,
Yeah.
and we'll call it a day. And we'll see. We'll ask you how two people can reach out to you. So rapid fire. Favorite founder you have worked with and why?
I mean, I can't say anybody other than my co-founder. I mean, otherwise it's like instant divorce. So, one of the things with co-founders is you need to pick a co-founder that is complements your skills. So I think very quickly there are three skills you need in a company: the domain expert, the hustler, the people who are going to go out and know what your audience wants, but they can't necessarily build it. Maybe it's a doctor and so on. The second skill is being able to build it. That often maps to the CTO or maybe a product role. And the third role is the maps to the CFO and so on. Someone who's going to make it a viable business, find investors, make sure the revenue numbers are there. And then you look within and see which one or more of these are you. And then you find a co-founder that complements you. So with my co-founder, I'm more of the product, customer facing. I'm the guy up on stage waving my arms. He's the back office, strategy, investor, and so on. And so those two work together, and that's my top tip. Next question.
Okay, next one. Most underrated clause in the term sheet.
Most underrated clause. Very good question. I would think it's about board consents. So founders usually, actually, I'm going to answer 2 points. Founders, I think, often want to add people to their board and add directors. They think it's sexy. I'm going to add these directors. What they don't realize is your board is like the police. They can get you fired. So, people go, yeah, I want an advisor, going to add it to the board. If you want an advisor, hire an advisor, give them some stock options. And if they stop giving advice, then terminate them. Do not add people on your board, because if you've got more investors on your board than founders, you kind of lost control of your company.
Absolutely.
So the board terms, to me, is probably the most important in a funding round.
Got you. And a myth about fundraising you wish would die.
That you have to raise at huge valuations and keep fundraising. So VCs, and you mentioned this, play the power law game. There's a fundamental mismatch between what you want as a founder and what a VC wants. So a VC will invest in 10 companies, hoping that one of them returns 50 times the investment and knowing that 5 of them will die. If you get home to your husband or wife and say, honey, I'm doing a new venture with a 1% chance we'll be billionaires and a 99% chance we'll be out of business, they're going to say, get a proper job. What you want as a founder, if you can sell your company for $20 million and you've got 30% equity, that's awesome. You can then go build another company and not need investment. So your goal is, with a high degree of probability, get a modest exit, whereas an investor wants a huge exit. The problem is people are seduced by tweets going, you need to raise millions and then get on the treadmill. And that works for a small number of hyper ambitious founders. But for most founders, it leads you to completely the wrong path. And instead, you should be looking to raise less money, get to cash flow break even or profitability sooner, and with a high degree of probability, have a growing business.
And one line of advice for founders fundraising today. What would be?
People go to VCs too early because you need investors. And then you think, I don't know any investors. So you start doing some Googling, like top investor lists, and then you get all these lists and then you write to VCs. The problem is VCs these days usually don't invest until the company's got revenue. So you get into this catch-22, which is you reach out to all the VCs, and if they do reply, they say, love what you're doing, come back later. And you're wasting huge amounts of time. And instead, you should reach angel investors. Angel investors don't have websites. They may be investing 20K, 50K, 5K. So you want to reach as many angels as you can. And that means making as much noise as you can on LinkedIn or Twitter or Insta, whatever is your hunting ground, don't make it a financial promotion, about this product you're building, about this problem you're solving. And then you can start layering into it that you're fundraising, and then start reaching out to people directly. And we've got articles and videos from LinkedIn SDR expert. I did a webinar on how to do LinkedIn reach out. So initially it's about finding angel investors and then having the legal platform to easily be able to create safes or ASAs or seed fasts and so on, or do a funding round as you need. And then later on, you're going to find VCs when
Very
you're
fascinating.
ready.
I agree because this whole venture game is all about trust and relationship, and you cannot afford to destroy those relationships at early stage when you're not ready, right? And we as a VC always advise you don't need to raise funds if you don't need it. Why the hell you are just like just for the sake of raising? Don't raise it, right? So I mean, save those relationships because when you need it, probably you that relationship or the trust should be there, right? So that you're not just falling apart. Thank you, Anthony. Really insightful conversation. Really appreciate it. Maybe to close it up, how people should reach out to you if they want to learn more about seed
Yeah,
legal and stuff like that, and please share your coordinates.
absolutely. So you can reach me, Anthony Rose, on LinkedIn. And I look exactly like this on my LinkedIn image. So you can find me. Always delighted to help with any questions and so on. Also, of course, head over to seedlegals.com. Principally if you're a UK, US, French, or Irish company, or you're looking to do what's called the Delaware flip and create a Delaware company for fundraising in the US and so on. So, yeah, seedlegals.com. We'll get a web chat bubble and connect with a human. So, or hit me up on LinkedIn directly. And you can also reach me, Anthony at seedlegals.com.
Lovely. And what's the whole future plan if I have to wrap it up in 1 minute for the seed legals? Where you see the company growing, and what's your long term plan with the seed legals in general?
My long-term plan is to be the legal operating system for your company. So everything you need to grow your company, finding investors, managing your team, investor updates, everything in one platform so that I make the cost of legals and the cost of fundraising as low as possible so you can get on with building your dream.
Lovely. And I think it's going to be really, you exactly nailed it because it's going to be the operating system both for the investor side and also the funder side because all the documents, data rooms may be sitting at the seed legal in the future.
You're very good at saying the investor side as well, because that's exactly what we're working on as well. So
Because
investors
reporting
invest in
and
many companies.
compliance, exactly. The data room, all these things is a broken system in the venture. We know the pain we go through every day, right? So I'm glad that someone took guts and came out. Okay, let me just fix this problem. I'm not from law background, but let me fix it. I know how to fix the problem, right? And that's what the founder needs to learn. Find the problem, solve the problem rather than just
Exactly.
make a solution viable. Thank you, Andrew. What a really interesting conversation. I really appreciate all your insight. I wish we'd have more time, but I mean, we keep doing all this stuff. Happy to introduce you to the folks who are looking for something related
Yeah.
to the
And
product.
and if you've got any chat groups and so on, I always spend way too much of time in my life on chat groups answering founder questions. So feel free to add me to anything. Always delighted to help.
Yeah, and if we missed replying to your questions and concern, please reach out to Anthony. The email and the LinkedIn profile is already mentioned in our event page, and all. Just go reach out, talk to Anthony. He's such an amazing person, and then we'll come back next week with the next amazing topic and amazing personality like Anthony. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.